Hey crew, it's Pitt, and I'm back with an MBTI introduction. We're going to talk briefly about what the MBTI system is and what I say it is, because that is not the same thing. The MBTI system is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. It is known, it's been around for a while, but it is largely considered pseudoscience because it is largely subjective. I am attempting to objectify it. I've devised a manner of typing other people through observation of conversation in a manner that is repeatable and not subjective. It is hopefully objective, and I'm going to relay to you how that is. This is not typical MBTI stuff. This is not the stuff that is associated with my type is XYZ, and it is the absolute best because we are the rarest unicorn in the field. And this is not that. There's a pretty equal distribution across the spectrum. There are more than 16 types. There are 32 types. The 16 base types and an alternative for each. It is dealing mainly with the way that you receive information, process that information, and then return that information. It has a lot less to do with mannerisms than a lot of people give it credit for. You can think in specific ways or have a tendency towards thinking in specific ways simply because your stack is built that way, but you are not hardline defined by these things. There is the ability to grow and to be more flexible if you're not a flexible person, or to become more rigid if you are a flexible person. But you don't really change the type that you are. It has to deal with the way that you receive information. It has to deal with the way that you process that information and give it back out. And I've struggled with a way to show this in a good manner, and I think I found something. The way that I do the MBTI typology is completely different than anything that you've ever seen. I have taken several different systems and taken pieces of them and put them together in what I consider a logical manner, so that it objectifies in a great deal typology. And the determining factors are like this. You are either things or ideas, which means that you either deal with actual things or you deal with ideas. You are either, with those, you either get new ones or sort through old ones. So you are either gathering new ideas or sorting old ideas, or you're gathering new things or sorting old things. You do that either for yourself primarily and then the tribe, or for the tribe primarily and then yourself. You do that in a flexible or rigid manner. Being flexible means that you're not constrained to this has to happen in this particular manner. Whereas if you're rigid, then it does. If you talk with somebody and they start telling a story and they get interrupted, and then 5 minutes later they continue the story exactly where they picked up, that is a very rigid person. If you talk to somebody and they get interrupted and they just completely go off in a different direction, that is more flexible. Most people fall on a scale between those two, but they have a tendency towards one or the other. All of these things, like nobody is hard, concrete, I'm only things all the time, or I'm only ideas all the time. You use all 8 of your functions. You use them all the time, but you use them with different degrees of effectiveness. And then finally, that's going to bring us into how you deliver the information. You are either informative and you tend to rattle off at the mouth a little bit and to over explain things, or you're direct and you say only what you really need to say, and that's all that needs to be said. If somebody pokes you, then you can give them a little bit more, and if they poke you, you think you can give them a little bit more, but you're not going to volunteer extra information. And that is how my typology works. And we're going to look at the scientific method to help me to explain what I'm talking about here. It's easier to contemplate like this. I'm going to do we're going to do some quick definitions real quick. SE is extroverted sensing, and SI is introverted sensing. NI is introverted intuition, and NE is extroverted intuition. That is, SE, SI are things. NE, NI are ideas. SE is dealing with now. It is dealing with things that you can actually put your hands on and do right now. These people are the test with experiment people. They're the ones that are actually running the actual experiments in the actual labs. Then you have SI, which is also a things, and it is a what has happened. It is dealing with the past. It is dealing with memories and reports. It is the people who are analyzing the data. Once the test has been run, you send it to the people who like to look at the results, and the people who like to look at the results summarize it and give you a report on what it is. Well, they send that to the next step, right? When the SE users and the SI users are done running the tests and the experiments, they send it back to where the beginning generally is. And I probably started this in the wrong spot, but we're going to go ahead and next up we're going to be going to where it begins, and that is the people who are looking for the new ideas. This is the NE users. This is the people who are trying to see what could possibly happen. This is going to be the people who observation and question, that they develop the research topic area. Then that's going to go to the NI users, and the NI users are going to say, well, given that this observation has been made, and given that we have all of this stuff, this is the most likely thing that is going to happen. And so they're dealing with the future, but they're dealing with the future in a controlled environment, right? These people are asking what could happen. This is what's most likely going to happen. Well, let's test that and see. Okay, here's what happened. Let's go back and re-question it. This is the scientific method. This is how science actually works, and it is how the human mind actually works. And some people are more predisposed to each of these slots. What I am showing is that the people who are things oriented are more likely to be in these slots, and the people who are ideas oriented are more likely to be in these slots. And so we have a framework by which to identify how we think. Now, the individual ways that we deal with that information is going to deal with the second part of the stack, because we have the main thing, the things or the idea, but how do we give that back? How do we process it first, and then how do we give it back? And the way that we're going to process it depends on the next part of the stack. So if, for instance, you are getting the reports and you're organizing the reports and you're getting all of the things, and these are the things that have actually happened. If you're a flexible person, you're going to frame that off of either morals or ethics. Ethics is FE, which is how everyone else feels about things, whereas morals is FI. It is how I feel about things. Or if you're more rigid, you're going to be a T, and that means that you're going to be TI, which is logic, and you're going to be very logical about how you rationalize through the, or not rationalize, You're going to be very logical about how you process the information and about how you understand what actually happened in the experiment. Or if you are TE, you're going to use everyone's rationale to understand what happened during the experiment. Uh, and that's for each part. That the T, TI, FE, FI. If you're T, you're more rigid. You're more prone towards logic and rationale. If you're an F, you're more prone towards morals and ethics, and that is how you decide things. That is how you frame your life around. It's not, it doesn't make you special. Like some people who tend towards the autism part of the spectrum seem to be a lot of T's. They seem to be very rigid in their processing, and a lot of them seem to be TIs because they are very, very logical and less rationale. On the opposite side of that, if you look at your more hippie type people, right? They're more about, that's not right. You're not doing it for the right reasons, or things like that. And that is more in the F part of the spectrum. These are actual trackable things about people, but it's not nearly as subjective as you might think. And despite your best efforts, like you can lie about the question. If I ask you a question, what is the most important thing in your life? And if you lie to me about it, number one, there's a good chance I'm going to catch you lying because I'm built that way. But it doesn't matter, because the substance about what you are talking about is either going to be things or ideas. And the substance about how you're going to deliver that information is either going to be rigid or it's going to be flexible. You're either going to do that in a way that serves you first, or in a way that serves the tribe first. You're going to do that. That's how it's going to work. And we didn't get into that yet. An SI person is going to be, if their tribe focus, is going to be very focused on reporting the results to everyone. Whereas an SI person who is very self-focused is going to be gathering those reports and then understanding and then reporting it out. So you'll have a lot of people that jump to conclusions that tend towards the SI tribe, whereas a lot of people that sit back and wait and formulate opinions tend towards the SI self. Now, the delivery of information. This is one of those parts that really differentiate, right? The self-tribe thing, that is I versus E in my system. That's introvert versus extrovert. If you're for yourself, you're introverted. If you're for the tribe, you're extroverted. It does not mean that you're a wallflower sitting on the wall somewhere. It does not mean that you're a party animal out there in the middle of a crowd. You can be a wallflower and still be extroverted in this system. And I understand that that is a changing of the definition as it is commonly known in MBTI, but I am okay with that. It fits better in this manner because you do these things for yourself or for the tribe, and it is a much better determination about why you do them. Now the traditional view of I versus E is better defined by direct versus informative. A direct person is going to try to preserve all the energy for themselves primarily. They're going to give you as little information as possible. They're going to tell you what you need to know to do what you need to do, and that is it. Whereas an informative person is they're going to over-explain things. Me doing videos is me working on my informative because I am very direct. So when I repeat things, that is an intentional thing for me to work on my informative. And that has a lot closer correlation to the normal I versus E dichotomy, but I really don't differentiate by whether you are shy or not. That is more of a trait
that can come from situational issues. I'm not trying to deal with situational issues. I'm trying to deal with, do you see things as things or ideas? Not all of the extra stuff that sometimes gets attributed to MBTI. The Yes, you will tend to be better in research positions if you are an SI person. If you are an SI and love doing reports or love traditions or love organizations or making charts, like that is all traits that SIs share. But that does not define who you are. You don't have to do that. You can be someone who meticulously puts together the perfect photograph, or an artist who meticulously paints the most realistic painting ever. You're not solely defined by your MBTI. This is not a horoscope. This is not a horoscope. You're not a Leo or a Gemini. But you do tend to see information in a certain way. You do tend to dwell in a certain place. And we can define that through this system. I also intend to show that you can integrate this with a self-help process that works with the energy centers of the body in order to understand where you are being held up in each one of these specific 8 areas, because there are 8 areas involved in this. If you are an INFJ, for instance, you're NIFETISE, but you are also NEFITESI, because that stack is 8 long, and you see information all the way down in different degrees and to different variations. We will get into the degrees and variations later, but it's important to show that it's not just the 4. Those are the first 2 are your primary things that you are most likely to use in the most productive manner. But there are other things that you use that can trip you up if you are held up in different areas. So we will be dealing with that more as we go forward. But I wanted to put out a good basis, a good foundation to build off of for the MBTI and how we work it. How this is different from other MBTIs, because if you've been doing MBTI, you've been doing it wrong. That's going to be the title of this, and I'm sure I'm going to upset some people. If you're unaware, I'm okay with upsetting people. This seems to be a system that works. That is the only thing that matters to me. This seems to be something that can help other people in the manner that it helped me. That is all that it matters to me. If I help one person with this, that is enough for me. But I think that eventually this will catch on, this will take off, and it will go somewhere. Because this is a logical framework. It works better than the Big 5 for me. The Big 5 was not specific enough for me. This got more specific for me. It got to the point where I could see, okay, well, this right here keeps tripping me up. And why is that? Because it is this. And because it is this, I can look at specific things in my life that I've held on to in negative ways. That is how you utilize this in self-help. That is the goal of this system. Like, I'm not doing this for professional development, although that will help. Like, once you understand that, yeah, man, I am organized all the way. I am organized things all the way. Well, then you can find a position that is focused on organized things, and you'll just enjoy your job. Or you'll find something where you're coming up with new ideas, and you will enjoy your job, and it won't be a grind. And because it's not a grind, you raise your energy up, and you start enjoying what you're doing and being grateful for what you have, and everything in your life gets better. So, anyways, before I rant too much more, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Till next time, this has been Pitt. God bless you. Peace upon you. I love you.